Today I'm going to be talking about why 2020 didn't totally suck. Hi everyone. Greetings during this holiday season. It's this time of year that people often spend some time reflecting on the past year and what happened. And I think for 2020, one of the most common things I've heard from people is just how bad of a year it was. And so reflecting on 2020, it's really easy for a lot of people to think about how terrible a year it was and all of the negative things that have happened. And one of the most common things I've heard from people is just how much 2020 has sucked. But in this video, I'm going to try and provide an argument or an explanation as to why I think that 2020 hasn't completely sucked. And it relates to the way we think about things and our understanding of the world and how we use information to make decisions. So it's going to be a little bit of a different video, but I hope that you can find it helpful in terms of just understanding a little bit about how you think and how you think and how you think influences how you feel. So if I pose the question, how do you feel about 2020? What were the main events that occurred in 2020? Well, your mind probably goes to instantly to a lot of the bad things that happened. And I don't need to go through them. We're all well aware of what happened this past year. So it doesn't take a lot of effort or energy or thought for our minds to go to all of the negative things and all of the negative events that occurred this year. But is that everything? Is 2020 really defined by just all of the bad things that have happened? One of the things I've sort of seen, and one of the things I work with a lot with my clients, is that my clients and just us in general, society in general, we like to view things in very black and white terms, very on or off. Our world, it seems, has become very polarized. And I think part of that is to help us understand what's going on. And it's a lot easier and a lot simpler to view the world and to view people and to view events in this dichotomy. It's either good or it's bad. It's either black or it's white. It's either right or it's wrong. But the thing is, the world is filled with gray. The world is filled with this middle area where it's not really clear if something is totally good or if something is totally bad. And so when we're talking about 2020 and people tell me how terrible a year 2020 was, it's very much focusing on just one end of the spectrum. So, like I said, if I asked you what were the negative things that happened in 2020, you're able to think of them right on the spot. There's no difficulty or problem coming up with thoughts or memories or things that occurred that were really bad in 2020. But did anything good happen to you in 2020? Think about it. Was there any positive moments? Were there any positive things that occurred in this year? Now, it may take you a while to think about some of those. It may seem like you have to put a bit of effort into thinking about the potential, positive or good things that happened in this year. But if you do think about it, you're likely to come up with some positive things. Now, they may not seem like they're as big as the negative things. It may not seem as like there are as many positive things that occurred compared to all the negative stuff that happened this past year. But just because we have to think about, just because we have to put effort into thinking about the potential positive things or the good things that happened in 2020, that doesn't invalidate those good things. That doesn't mean those good things didn't happen. And so if we just say 2020 was a terrible year, it was an awful year, we discount and we ignore these positive things that occurred. And so that's not an entirely realistic way of thinking about the world. And that's often something I see in people with anxiety and people with depression, is they tend to filter out information. And they focus on particular pieces of information that support how they feel. Now, part of this is an availability bias. It's just the information that is most available to us and most readily available to us. And we use that information to help make our judgments. And so you turn on the news pretty much any day in 2020, and you would have heard a lot of bad things happening. And so we're constantly bombarded with information about negativity and bad things occurring. But we don't get as much information and the availability of information about positive things or good things happening. It's not coming to us as easily, or we're not paying attention to it. So we pay attention to the negative stuff, but we don't pay as much attention to the positive stuff. And so we're making judgments just focusing on one part of the equation. And this is one of the things that tends to happen with depression, with anxiety. It's what we call the mood-congruent memory bias. When you're feeling particularly down, what you tend to think about and remember most is all of the negative things that are happening. And so it's kind of this biased way of thinking that only focuses on one aspect or one series of arguments about what's going on. And it ignores information that may discount or discredit those views and those beliefs. And so when we say 2020 was a terrible year, it was awful. Yeah, there were awful things that happened in 2020. There were terrible things that occurred this past year. But there were also really good things that happened. And so it's important to spend some time thinking about those good things to help put this year in a context that is realistic, considering all the negative, but also all of the positive. Now, one of the things I often have my clients challenge me on is they say, oh, well, you're just being Pollyanna. You're just focusing on the positive things, and it's that whole, think positive thoughts, turn that frown upside down, that type of idea. I'm not a proponent of the power of positive thinking. I believe in the power of realistic thinking, and I like to think of myself as a realistic optimist. So, yes, I acknowledge the negative things, but I also spend some time thinking about what are the positive things as well to help understand the world as a more gray area as opposed to either black or white. One of the things I've been reflecting on recently is, we talk about how bad 2020 has been, but there are children who are being born this year who will have a positive impact on the world. There are children who are being born in this year of 2020 that people say is such a terrible, horrible year, who when they grow up will change the world, will do remarkable things, will become people who help other people, people who save lives, people who develop technologies that will help make the world a better place, people who will be the joy of their parents' lives. So there are millions of people who are being born this year who will make this world a much better place. And from my perspective, you can't say a year that created those people was a terrible, horrible year. Yes, it was a difficult year. And yes, it was more difficult than other years. But don't discount that there were positive things and good things that came from 2020. So I hope that gives a bit of a different perspective. I'm sure if you're looking at or reflecting on the year, or hearing other people reflect on the year, they'll talk about how bad of a year it was. But I just want you to try and think about some of the things that may not fit that narrative. That, you know what, maybe there were positive things that occurred. And if we think about those positive things and the negative things, it can give us a much more balanced view of 2020. One of the things I've been really grateful for and what I've found really positive in 2020 is this channel. Essentially, this channel was born in August of 2020, and since I started doing these videos, I've gotten such wonderful feedback from people who have written to me and written in the comments section about how much they appreciate these videos and how much they're finding them helpful. And that was the whole point. And so if 2020 led to the creation of this channel, and if people get some benefit from it, then that's exactly what I wanted for this channel when I started it. And that's exactly what I hoped for. And so as I look forward to 2021, I'm excited about where this channel is going to go and how this community is going to continue to grow. And so that's one of the things that I've been very thankful for in 2020. So I hope that gives you maybe a different perspective or a different way of thinking about the year. I'm not trying to convince anybody to think about 2020 as a wonderful year, but it doesn't have to be perfectly wonderful and the best year ever for it to have not totally sucked either. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. So that's all for today's video. I wish you all the best for 2021 and a healthy and happy and prosperous new year. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and thank you for your support of this channel. I look forward to speaking with you more and sharing more of my ideas and these videos in the new year. Thanks a lot, and take care.